But we've always done it this way. I think that's my least favorite thing I've ever heard. Because it's like they never stop to look to see if there's a better way. Is there a better way? So do this, try this. Is what I'm doing right now the best way to do this? And if it's not, then do it differently. IBM has the motto, think. Apple has the motto, think different, which is kind of funny because it's poor grammar. But I think that's the point. They want to break that rule. They're breaking that grammar rule to see if they can get you to react. All right, so this one is bound to make you mad. So before you get mad, just hear me all the way out. All right, so the title of this one is A Foolish Consistency is the Hobgoblin of Small Minds. All right, and so I'm going to blow up the word consistency because I don't use it when I coach. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't believe that people should miss a bunch of shots for no good reason, right? But let's look at what people mean when they say consistency. One, I've never heard someone ever say that they were happy with their consistency. So what does that mean? People constantly say I need to be more consistent, but they never say, "Oh, I have arrived. I'm now consistent." And the reason is because every missed shot is interpreted to be a sign of inconsistency. So they could be Rafael Nadal and have 3 unforced errors in a set, and they're going to be mad about all of them. All right. So anyway, now I'm going to apply this to some match play at the tennis 201 and 301 levels. So here's one particular vignette. All right, so I got my number 1 player, and he's easily he's a 4-5, and he's playing another kid who's probably a 4-0. I mean, my kid's better than him, but the problem that the other kid had was that he'd obviously been training on a ball machine, this way, that way. Forehands, backhands, forehands, backhands, at the baseline, forehands, backhands. And so if you hit it to him to the baseline, he's hitting it back. He's making them, right? As soon as you bring him into the court a little bit, he doesn't know what to do. But he's been trained to be consistent from the baseline, right? So one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my whole career, and I don't think I'm overstating it, is the fact that my player every once in a while would, he'd be stretched out and kind of pop something up, and it would land right in the worst part, right on the service line, slow ball. And this kid would come forward, and because he had almost no training at coming forward and finishing, he would slam them into the net. And this happened like 3, 4, 5 times in a match. So my guy's up a set and 2 breaks. So I was like, hey, you know what? In this last game, just pop up one more in the middle of the court. I think we all want to watch him smack it in the net one more time. Sorry. Was that mean? I mean, it's high school. So, and, we're not laughing out loud, but we are kind of going. So, but the kid was so consistent at the baseline. You bring him forward, he doesn't know what to do. Right? I think also what happens is that's where people get their aversion to the net. They feel consistent at the baseline, but then they come forward and things become a high risk, more risk. There's a chance you could get passed clean. Oh no. You could miss a volley. Oh no. Right? But then what people don't realize is that the passing shot person misses their shot more often. And you're going to have as many winners as you are going to have errors at the net. So that's the push pretty much. So that's one example. All right. Another one is that, probably, the most consistent players out there are the pushers, right? Because they're just out there, they're just not really using much pace. And they're just going to run around and hit one more ball, run around, hit one more ball, and then, maybe keep it deep up the middle on you, give you no angles, maybe hit some lobs and some moon balls. But then here's a funny little trick that you can use against those people. And they're not trained for this because they have small minds. They don't understand things. Oh, see, and even my cat's upset about that, right? So what do you think, Cork Man? Huh? You're so malleable. He's purring. He likes to get smacked around a little bit. All right. So thanks for visiting the show. Actually, we could call him the producer. He's the producer. Are you my producer? Come on, give Daddy some love. No? Oh, he doesn't want to perform. So here's a trick that really works with pushers. It's pretty awesome. You hit them one ball with decent pace and they use your pace. Then you hit a slightly slower ball and they don't really account for it. They're not used to putting pace back on a ball. So after you've hit them one fairly firm shot, then you hit them a softer shot, then they hit short. Like all the time. It's so predictable. And then once you get that short ball, then you can do whatever you want. So you can drop shot them, you can hit an angled shot, you can come to the net. So it's a foolish consistency. They're not really thinking out there. So another interesting thing is that some people, even though they have a certain strength, they use their certain strength in the same way all the time. Oh, they're consistent, right? I used to laugh when I would play somebody and they've got a really big serve and I'm thinking, because my return was never really my greatest shot. So big servers concerned me often. But if they're always hitting it to my forehand, then I can handle that. I can hit a lot more returns when I know where it's going all the time. And boy, were they consistent. So if that big server, this probably happened a handful of times. I come in and the guy's serving like 115, 120, and I'm like, this could be a tough day at the office. But then it's like, it always goes to my forehand. Okay. But see, if the other guy, maybe takes the risk of losing a couple of first serve percentage points and moves it around to the corners and comes at my body, then he's really got a big edge. That was even more difficult. So, it's this foolish consistency of always doing the same thing. So here's another one. I was in a tournament and it was a funny situation where I was in the third round, and in the first two rounds, two brothers who were friends of mine each faced this guy. So the first round he beats the first brother, and the second round he beats the second brother. And then I ran into them. I'm like, hey guys, scouting report, please. I will try to avenge you. So they were like, dude, whatever you do, stay away from his backhand, right? And I'm like, why? What does he do? They're like, he rips that thing cross court out, hard, heavy topspin, short angle, pulls you way off the court. Yeah, do not hit to his backhand. So I obeyed what they said. So I came to the net a lot, and I came up the middle of the court, which took his angles away. And occasionally I came in on his forehand. So I won a pretty tough first set against him, 7-5. And then I'm up a break in the second. I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to approach to his backhand one time. And so I come in to his backhand on a decent approach. And sure enough, he goes, right? And then I'm like, I didn't even reach out my racket. It was just past me, you know? So I was like, oh, well, okay. I believe those brothers, but maybe that was a fluke. That was a pretty amazing shot. Let's see if he can do it again, right? So I come to the net one more time. He's like, and I'm like, oh, okay. No, they were not lying. They were not lying to me. And I'm glad I played this game plan. And then, I stayed away from that a lot. And, I sort of dialed in my approach strategy. I realized that I had to come in a little bit more to his forehand because strangely enough, he sprayed his forehand more. And if I went up the middle, he was going to move and hit his backhand. Right. So, that's another one of those foolish consistency things, right? People go, play the other person's backhand. I'm like, well, what if it's their better shot? So it is true that on average, the average forehand is 7 miles an hour faster than the average backhand on the Pro Tour. I'd be interested to know what it is at the recreational level. It could be 10 to 12 miles an hour faster. I don't know. I would like to know that. That'll be fun if SwingVision published that. But I think I'm going to dig into my data a little bit. Anyway, so this is one of those things. People go, attack to the backhand, right? But it's not always the worst shot. In fact, for a long time, my backhand was way better than my forehand. And so it wasn't until I solved my forehand problem. I mean, look at Zverev. Zverev was, has one of the better backhands on the tour, but his forehand was a bit dodgy. And now that he's cleaned up his forehand significantly, now he's solidly entrenched in the top 10. So it's these foolish consistencies of always hitting to the same place, of practicing on the ball machine, which gives you this predictable ball, and not working on moving people around on the court, right? So if you really want to be effective, work on different shot combinations: drop shot, lob, short angle to the tee, deep ball to the opposite corner, and vice versa. You can go deep corner, deep to one corner and then short angle, or even a drop shot. Make people move on a diagonal instead of just side to side, because people in their foolish consistency are only looking at the baseline as a place to hit through. But really what you need to do is work on moving your opponent to different parts of the court to create openings for yourself. And the way you do that is by using the entire court. So one thing I do when I'm training players is the first thing we do is we come up really close to the net so we can get some nice little dink shots, up close, practicing that touch around the net, because, the court is what? Let's do some quick math here. Okay, we're going to estimate 80 feet by almost 30 feet is 2,400 feet. So we'll call it 2,100 feet. We're just using round numbers, right? So you cut that in half, and then you go, all right, half of that's on their side. So about 1,000 square feet of hitting area. But what do people do? They're only trying to hit the 51 square feet, at the baseline. But, you start putting in some drop shots and some short angle shots and some chips low in front of the service line. Then you got some people in real trouble. So here's another example. One of the most comical matches I've ever seen was Roger Federer against Robbie Ginepri. So Ginepri, was a grinder, a heavy topspin on both sides, and Western grips and all that. And so, what did Federer do? He would just go. It would just be he'd get in position for. He'd get in position to hit a chip low to Ginepri's backhand, and then that ball pops up, and then forehand cross court to the other side all day long. I don't know that I ever saw Ginepri get more than 3 games in a set off of Federer. So that's where this grinding style, this heavy topspin style is vulnerable, is that if you hit short and the other person is able to hit you a chip, especially low to the backhand, that can be real trouble. And the forehand too, because then you're going to have to really get down there for that topspin. You're not going to get the same amount of force on the ball, and then you're really vulnerable to a good shot. But then people will point to, oh, but then there's Nadal. I'm like, all right, and then how many players are there in the world like Nadal, right? Maybe Alcaraz, right? But maybe, he's on his way up, it surely seems, right? But there aren't a lot of people who can play like that. So, part of it is about having the extreme physicality, the extreme athleticism to be able to play that super heavy topspin play all the time. But you are still vulnerable no matter. Robbie Ginepri was quite the specimen. He was extremely fit, very strong, very well trained at what he did. And then Federer just took him apart with a little bit of technique. With some brain work, a little chip low, vulnerable, short shot, finish, right? So this is where this foolish consistency. So don't hit the same shot, right? Also figure out what are your weaknesses, right? So now if Ginepri was really well trained at taking that slice and slicing it back really well, and getting it back deep, then it's a whole different ballgame, right? But he didn't. He was going to hit topspin with everything. So, all right. Well, thanks for watching. If you like it, go ahead and use your social digital currency. Press like, share, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and be smart about how you play. Have more variety to the way things go. And then shout out to Chuck Tomlin. Now I neglected to mention Chuck's guest chapter that he did in the book. So it's chapter 17. Chuck did a thing on smart targets, which I really like, and I'm open to guest chapters. So if you want to write a chapter for Tennis Strategy 101, 201, 301, I can include those. But I have to go back and make another edition now to include acknowledgments and put Chuck in there. So I listed him as co-author. So anyway, just thought I should acknowledge that. But thanks for watching and have a great day.